Ethan, happy birthday, Ethan. Love your dad, Jim, and best friends Josh, Flam, and Gator. Good luck on the upcoming corn harvest and enjoy.
Okay, I don't dislike Ralph, but I'm at a place, and I'm not being ironic, where I think it may be time to sacrifice Ralph to the corn. We have to sacrifice Ethan Ralph, to the gods, so that the corn will be a bountiful harvest this year.
Josh, he's the owner of Kiwi Farms. He said, I need to be sacrificed so that we may have a good harvest. You will be harvested long before me, sir.
I know I've been saying I don't want to talk about Ethan for a while, but this news just came in, and I have to read it, and I have to set the tone correctly, so. This is my son, Ethan. He took his own life on the 18th of August, 2021. Outside of being at the mercy of our federal government, our lives haven't felt that abnormal these past few months. Ethan was always a fiercely intelligent man with a never-ending thirst for knowledge. He was always capable of critical thought, even from a young age. It made parent-teacher meetings very interesting, but I digress. Ethan showed me the importance of vitamin D and its proven benefits in strengthening our immune systems, which is how we formed this ritual between us, where we take our staffy, Milo, on a walk each Arvo. I felt like the walks had a positive impact on our relationship and our health, as we be free to appreciate nature, free from technology and everything else that's been going on. On the 11th, during our walk, Ethan broke down crying. He told me that he loved me and was thankful for everything. My son and I have always been close, as it's been the two of us since he was 4. But there was something different about how he was saying it. He had never been much of a crier. It was the way he said it. Dad, I love you. I mean, I love you no matter what, okay? I had no idea what matter what meant. I told him I loved him too. I would also love him no matter what, and he will always be my son. I asked him if there was anything he was worried about. He told me that he was feeling stressed about uni. He took the HSC last year, which was a massive trek for him, and he wasn't up for round 2 in uni because of the amount of coursework that is expected of him in his law degree. I told him that I would continue to help him in any way that was possible, and that I'd always be there for him. He seemed to be a lot better after that day, if you ask me. I would say that he seemed to be in an even better spirit after our chat, like a huge weight was off his chest, had been lifted. But I guess it was, because I found my son in his room on the 19th of August. He left a note for me explaining how he was sorry, but he did not want this to be his life. He did not want to live in a cage for the rest of his life. He explained that he was anticipating adulthood, freedom, and the real world, only for that to be snatched from him at the very last second. His first semester of uni was amazing, if we look at his marks. But it was painfully lonely for him. He made no new friends, as his high school friends had all turned his back on him for daring to think differently. The emotional effect of the lockdowns on our youth has been largely ignored. I would never have thought that Ethan would have chosen to leave us this way. The last few days have been an emotional roller coaster of grieving, anger, and regret. Please, pay attention to your kids. This has all been a massive shock for them. For a lot of them, school is their world. Their world had been taken away from them. I want our kids to be happy because they're our future, and I don't want any more parents to experience what I've had to in the past 72 hours. I'm sorry, Ethan. So, this was posted to a anti-lock group on Facebook, and was posted then to No New Normal, a quarantined anti-lockdown subreddit, and was viral. That poor Ethan had himself. If you don't know, that's me. This post is completely bullshit, and someone used my pictures. Someone who I assume does not like me, because they picked the worst possible pictures you could ever views of me in this collage, and they said, that's it. And it got shared all over the fucking place, and people found it and they sent it back to me, and everyone had a good laugh. And it has to be a troll because they named the kid's name is Ethan. So yeah, that's like a meme. That's a meme, dude. But I saw this and I laughed, so I thought you guys would appreciate it. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about the other Ethan. The less fun Ethan, the bitter, angry Ethan. Ralph, the real Ralph, the Ralph we all know and love. Several things have transpired about Ralph this week. No surprise, right? The most significant of which I feel, apparently he disagrees, but I feel that once he's been banned off everything except Odyssey, right? And Odyssey doesn't have a way to like monetize videos effectively. It just has a library token. So for the last while, he's been putting all his streams on something called Killstream TV. And this is what's called a white label service. This is a product developed by a company called Secure Server, and they rent out the website and the app to Ralph for like something ridiculous, like $700 a month. And then his customers pay through Secure Server, and I don't know if they take a cut. I assume they do, and then Ralph gets what's left over. And they get basically like they pay like $8 a month or like $70 a year, something like that. And they get access to the complete archive of Ralph's shit, which is why he's been DMCA crazy lately. He doesn't want any archives of his shit on the internet. He wants everyone to pay him for the privilege of seeing his garbage podcast. And because SecureServer.tv is made by like it was hacked recently. It was hacked this week, and we got access to it secondhand because it was leaked to like hacking sites. What they do is they get the database and then they just leak it to a forum dedicated to compromised databases. And then someone found it, they posted it to the forum, and Ralph immediately blows up and starts blaming the forum because of course he does. But before I get into that, let me explain that he and Secure Server have completely minimized the scope of his hack. I don't know if Secure Server has contacted their customers. To Ralph, based on what Ralph had said, they're downplaying the severity of it. Because you think like, oh, something got hacked. Like the forum had an issue where our Redis got access, and then using session tokens, someone was able to log in to every logged in user, and then through that access their email address from their account settings area, and then have a combination of username and email address for everyone who had been active in the last couple of weeks. When that happened, that's all they got. And it was damaging to a couple people, but most people were smart enough not to use a compromising email address as their email, as I warned people when they register on the site not to do. With Secure Server, it's a bit different because Secure Server processes financial details. So when this got hacked, not only was it username, which for a lot of people was something like, something like nationalists or super edgy about Hitler or some shit. But then they have their email address, and most people, I think, used a real email address. And then their phone number was stored as well for most people. And then their real first and last name, the last 4 digits of their credit card, their expiry date, and the security code on the back of the card was all stored in plain text in this database, in this template code that was obviously insecure because it was compromised. And he got they're trying to downplay what they had access to and blame they hacked into like a third-party provider that didn't take necessary precautions. From what I understand, the database had like a simple password, and someone was able to log into the server remotely using a regular password on the root account, and then log into the MySQL database using a simple, easy to guess password. And then from there, they were able to download a copy of not just Ralph's shit, but a total database copy. So every piece of information except for like static content that exists on secure servers, someone was able to get access. And for a lot of people, this included not only the information that I listed, but also the billing address of every customer, not just for Ralph, but for like tens of thousands of users subscribing to a bunch of right-wing podcasters who also use secure servers. So them saying that, oh, it's someone else's fault, like who the is giving that third party the data then that is obviously not able to be trusted with it? And then Ralph blows it off by saying, oh, it's just your name and credit card information and your phone number and, whatever. Who gives a shit, right? What are they going to do? Don't be afraid of the Kiwi Farms. It's like, bro, the Kiwi Farms is a gossip forum. Nobody on the Kiwi Farms poses a threat to your users. The people who pose a threat to your users are people who are going to be like, he didn't even like tell people what the full scope of the information was. When he said like the financial details, he said like, oh, they can't use the last four to make any purchases, so don't worry about it, or like some shit like that. He downplayed everything, said that the addresses weren't included. For many users, they were included. So complete lies about the scope of the attack, and didn't contact anyone. Sent out like a tweet. And, people went down the list, contacted every single person and told them about what was happening. And they just lied and blew it off because Ralph wants people to say subscribe to him. And he even went on and said like, oh, people tried, this was a big attack towards us. But, I got 8 more subscribers. They're really rallying the troops. Everyone wants to support the show even more now. Like, okay, I fully believe that people who watch the Killstream are and will volunteer their information to be leaked out for the benefit of Ethan Ralph. But like, I don't know. And I don't know how, like, I remember when the hack happened on the forum, I contacted everyone. I told them what had happened and what the implications of it were. And the only reason why it wasn't worse than it was is because we had a policy of not keeping any information, but Secure Server didn't have that. The only saving grace is that they use Stripe for credit card processing, and Stripe keeps the actual credit card number. But everything you could ever, possibly hope to get from a database leak like this was leaked. So I don't know. I don't know how he can, in good conscience, downplay it, but he really doesn't have any shame. So that's the Secure Server stuff. And he blamed the forum for it. I mentioned this is the tweets now, which I will read. Kiwi Farms is engaged in literal criminal acts today, harassing the viewers of the Killstream. I will be going to the Federal Bureau of Investigation to personally report Josh Moon with my attorney. It's beyond time for something like that. This guy is an actual blight. As for what they have, not much in reality. They're trying to blow it up and scare people away from supporting the show. I will also be reporting their illegal activities to Cloudflare and any other company that does business with them. Luckily, it's all been saved. I am, however, very grateful that they did all this out in the open. It's going to make possible criminal, civil, and other efforts all that much easier. Someone warns them, careful with the FBI, you're playing with fire by interacting with them, and he says, they might not do anything, but whatever. I want it on the record from my lawyers, Josh Moon crossed the line today. I'm not one of these goofballs, and it's not just me talking about civil action on this specific issue. The main thing is this: Kiwi Farms obtained some subscriber information, and now they're trying to bully you out of supporting the Killstream. Things have been secured, and I've been briefed, because I'm the president of the United States, and I have secretaries that brief me on urgent national security matters like Killstream.tv being hacked, because I'm important on the internet and shit. No one's financials are in danger. We even talked to TD Bank, and they said the same. I'll talk more about it when we have more than autistic and criminal posts on Kiwi Farms, but that's the long and short of it. I want to make sure everyone knows what's going on. There's nothing to be afraid of. KF relies on people fearing them, but they're nothing. Paper tigers. I'll have a video up there soon. I have to remix it because the iPhone shot it in 100,000 K or whatever bitrate. And it's also a MOV file, and I guess he doesn't know how to convert that to an MP4. Site doesn't lack those, and it made the first upload super bright. I don't know. We're doing the file now. I personally confirmed tonight that Josh Moon owner of Kiwi Farms is living in Belgrade, Serbia, without a doubt. I wonder what the government there thinks about an international criminal taking up residence. I sure hope that no one turns up the heat now. I don't think I'm allowed to play this on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that song is like an instant automatic like terrorist content ban. I don't know. I don't know what Serbia's take on that kind of issue is. I assume that they don't like such things, but whatever. Like I literally did nothing. I did nothing to this man. I did literally nothing. Like his own shitty actions converted to him being banned from everything collectively, forcing him to go on shitty services like Secure Server, and then their shitty security gets hacked, and it's my fault. It's my fault again somehow. I don't understand. Oh, someone made this fan art, which I assume this is the appropriate time to put this up. But at some point in the future, a pigeon is going to shit on Ethan Ralph's shirt, and he's going to look up there and know that it was my pigeons, fully grown and trained to shit on Ethan Ralph, and he will shake his fist at me for that blight, that assault on his person and clothing. It's just like everything is my fault. And it's like, bro, maybe it's not my fault. Maybe you should be angry at Secure Server. Like if you're gonna blame anyone, if you want to have civil actions against people, you should sue the people who leaked your subscribers' information out, and now people can dox people like Darth Butters, who's a big supporter of the show, because of Secure Server. Maybe you should consider your options against the people who have actually wronged you in some capacity. And then, because he's so proud, because he assumes that this is something that we've done against him to deprive him of income, he immediately goes out and tells people, well, shit, we just got another 8 subscribers today because everyone's rallying around, circling the wagons to show their support for the Killstream. Them Kiwi Farm cyber bullies ain't got shit on us. All that does is say, I wasn't financially damaged by this action. I have no cause of action. I have no financial harm to show the court. I don't have anything to sue for. I've recorded this on Twitter, and now it's been screen capped and posted to the forum so that it can be brought up if I ever decide to sue someone. Because that's how it works in the U.S. Punitive damages are given out very rarely, especially if there's no real damages. So if you want to sue someone, you have to actually show this person did this thing, which caused me X amount of dollars in financial damages, and I want that money back in compensation, and I want my attorney's fees. I want things to be, as is the case in the U.S. civil court, the ambition of the civil court is to restore things to for the person harmed to as they were before the cause of action arose. So if things are better for you after the cause of action, then there's nothing to restore. You've tanked your own case immediately. Not just against me, as if I've done anything wrong to begin with, but potentially Secure Server or anyone, responsible for a hack, because they haven't done anything to you. You can't sue for something that hasn't hurt you. It's just unbelievable. His pride hurts him constantly, and he doesn't learn. That is the ultimate lolcow trait, and I've always maintained that really what makes a lolcow is that they cannot learn, and you can tell them what to do. You can give them step-by-step instructions on how to fix their situation, how to improve upon themselves, and they will take that information and ignore it and continue down their path for no reason. And that is Ralph to a T, because he believes that he knows best all the time, and he never stops and thinks. And I don't know. I guess it's going to continue forever until he's dead or some shit. He's engaged. I mentioned this before. I talked about this on the first week of this month, that he's engaged to Pantsu Party now, who is Digibro's ex. And he has decided to go to Las Vegas with Dick to have the wedding. We're going to have a Las Vegas wedding, very classy, very wiggerish. And he's in Las Vegas right now. Where do you guys think Pantsu is? I want to see in chat. Where do you guys think Pantsu is? Pantsu is in Richmond, I guess. She's back in Virginia. She's apparently working right now while in Afghanistan. No, she's in Richmond, only slightly better. And she's working while Ralph has flown out to Las Vegas a week ahead of her. That is quite interesting to, what's it called? To elope with your fiancé. I don't know what you call it when it's a woman. And head there to your honeymoon spot a week in advance. What could possibly be happening there? So at the same time that Ralph decides to fly out from his pregnant fiance's their home in Richmond, to Las Vegas to have this wedding, someone named Love is a 4-letter word also flies out. So in this montage, you have Pantsu sad and shred saying, "Kiss my love goodbye. See you in Vegas, baby." Mwah, mwah. And then from this, the love is a 4-letter word. "I'm on my way to Vegas. Have to catch a flight on the same exact day." That's Ethan's major pay pig. Love is a 4-letter word. She's headed to Vegas today. Did this guy just catch Ethan's side piece flying out while May is stuck working in Virginia? Is this the entire reason he went there more than a week early? So here we have Love is a 4-letter word, flew out to Vegas the same night Ralph did, a week earlier than anyone else. And this is on a Pantsu party video on Odyssey, I believe. And she replies, oh, and they found this, by the way, they found this out because trolls called her on her phone number, which they got because she's a subscriber on Killstream TV. And they figured this out from their phone call with her. And the Pantsu party replies, "Love has been such a wonderful supporter of both the Killstream and our relationship. You think that makes me insecure? I am also so happy Ralph is such a dedicated supporter, many of them women. And you know why? Because Ralph is an incredible man who never gives up on what he believes in. I'd be in Vegas now too, but I have obligations and I am a woman of my word. I look forward to meeting everyone in Vegas soon." To which the original poster, Jogger Blogger, replies saying, "I never said anything about being insecure. You did." So soon after, Ralph cancels a kill stream, just without a word, hasn't explained why, and says, "Chicken sandwich. I didn't pay for that, actually. When you're me, people pay you for lunch. You wouldn't know that feeling." And there is a picture of Love is a 4-letter word for comparison. I think she's in her 40s. I mean, she looks more like a woman than May, even though she's a bit older. So I assume he claims that this chicken sandwich was bought to him by Odyssey. So he's, in one hand, because he's a wigger and he can't let anything go out of pride. He says, "Actually, I bought this cheap ass chicken sandwich. Someone bought it for me. I didn't pay for it. I eat for free. I live like a king, baby. I'm King Wigger." And it's like, okay, he's saying that Odyssey bought it for him. So it's like, okay, did Odyssey like have a business conference with Ralph in Las Vegas, and their fancy business meal that they bought for him was this chicken sandwich from Big Chicken in Las Vegas? I'll tell you what, I went on a business trip. Well, here's my wigger one up for Ralph. I went to Japan once with the guys from 2 Channel, and we went up to Hokkaido on Christmas Eve. And we met the ad executive for the partner company that does ads for 2 Channel. And this guy gave me 50,000 yen as a gift. And he took us out to this really, really fancy, like 4-star Japanese restaurant where we all sat at this table and there's this big pot of broth in the middle. And you all dip your meat in. And it's like that Hokkaido perfectly marbled, super fancy beef that looks incredible and it tastes great, and you dip it in, you let it cook however long you want. And that's what a business meal is like when you meet people. Usually you don't have a chicken sandwich from Big Chicken in Las Vegas. What you have a chicken sandwich from Big Chicken in Las Vegas with is Love is a 4-letter word, who is a supporter for your show and who flew out to meet you and have sex with you before you get married to your pregnant horsewife in Virginia. Just an interesting comparison. Meanwhile, Dick, who I assume is the best man, I don't know who the is. From what I understand, Gator was not even invited to this because they know Ralph and Dick both know that they could fly out to Las Vegas and rent a penthouse suite, which they did. There a bunch of guys from that Ralph knows, including Dick, are at this penthouse suite in Las Vegas, and Gator was not invited because they know if they flew out there to Las Vegas and invited all these hoes to have like a bro orgy right before this wedding, Gator would suck the life out of that room. He would be so unable to jive with these cool kids, Ethan, Ralph, and Dick Masterson, that the prostitutes would just leave. They wouldn't have a good time. They wouldn't want to do with Dick and Ralph. They would just leave. So they said, Gator, you can't come. We're not gonna pay for you to come out to Vegas to have strippers with us before I get married. You've been a loyal supporter of the show for however many years, but you are cringe incarnate. Everything you say is the antithesis of funny. You are a human cancer that sucks the life out of the room. You're not welcome at my wedding. Sorry. Your grocery money will come in next week on time, and I'll send you I'll send you a book about how to pick up women. So, but this is what Dick is sending Ralph, saying you got some explaining to do. Andy Signor is in Vegas and they're surrounded by prostitutes, which cheap prostitutes because they're brown. You have to pay a premium for the white ones, and none of those chicks are white. So they got the discount prostitutes, and that's what Dick and Ralph are planning, I guess, with no Gator involved. Meanwhile, in the cuck shed, Pantsu is saying, anyone knows some good books on the war in Afghanistan? Just need some reading recommendations to keep her mind preoccupied as the events unfold and history is made. And I'm torn on Pantsu. I used to think she was just like conniving and trying to get like internet famous. She was gonna like Ralph, and then someone more famous would come along like Dick, and then she'd someone else more famous, and yada yada until she was Elon Musk, I guess, and usurping what's her face? Grimes is Elon Musk. Okay, yeah, Grimes. So until she was Elon Musk and Grimes, that was in her mind. But now I don't even know what to think about her. I'm forced to assume at this point in time that she's not actually smart and conniving. She's just really dumb. And this has been a slow going realization for me. But I'm now at a point where I am forced to assume, against my better judgment, that Pantsu is actually just an idiot. She seems entirely interested in like usurping what's her face, Faith, and like one-upping Faith and saying, oh, like on her profile. Hopefully there's no on her profile. Oh, that's right. She's trad now. She doesn't post on her profile anymore. She posts Ralph wins with like a picture of her in the wing, and I think that's like directed at Faith and Aid and Nora and shit. Like he got the most attractive out of the four. He's with me now, and it's just like it's like the most petty contest ever possible with Ralph, and now she's already being cheated on because he cheated on Aid with Faith in California at Dick Masterson's house. I'm seeing some parallels here. And then she cheated on he cheated on, I have notes for this actually. There's so much cheating going on, I have to write down notes. He cheated on Faith with Pantsu in Miami. That was when he was doing the in-row live streaming and the cops showed up, and he's like saying like, you guys tip $100, I'll show you Pantsu in her bikini, like that kind of shit. Was buying her lingerie and shit. So he cheated on Faith with Pantsu, but he also cheated on Aid with Faith at Dick's house in California. And that's like, so and allegedly, if you believe Coach Red Pill, which I would tend not to, but the evidence is on his side in this case, he also cheated on Nora with a prostitute in Knoxville. So it seems like there's a trend of him getting someone knocked up or getting someone wifed up, and then him cheating on her, and then repeating that cycle forever. You know, he upgrades that chick to main hoe, and then cheats on main hoe with new hoe, upgrades her to main hoe, and then cheats on her with new hoe. So I can only assume that as we enter the Las Vegas cycle, he's also going to cheat on Pantsu with love is a 4-letter word, and then upgrade her to main hoe, probably briefly because he likes him younger, and then cheat on her too with someone else. God knows who. And then we'll have like 4 or 5 demon babies walking around. And they you know, it's easy to look at this and then think like, oh no, this is idiocracy. This is idiocracy. That's what everyone loves to say, right? But if you think about it, we need white worker bees, low IQ people to drive the trucks and work the equipment and grow the food. And there's nothing wrong with having this army of demon babies doing the menial labor for us so that we can live civilized lives. And I would prefer that them be low IQ wiggers as opposed to the invasive species that are a detriment to our culture and society. And that's assuming that they don't just grow up to be like serial killers. I'm just going to assume in good faith that they end up with a healthy relationship with their mom somehow and just plow fields and work the factories and serve in the military during the Civil War. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with all the Ralphs serving in the military, occupying, I would say Afghanistan, but we're out of Afghanistan. I was having a conversation about what country we're going to invade next. All the Ralphs can go die in Beijing or Taipei or Burma. We have to go, you know, Burma, Myanmar, number one, has a military junta government, and number two, has precious metals and oil and natural gas. Hey, send the Ralph children to Burma, bring democracy, get that juice, get that black gold, get that real yellow gold, and send it back to the empire, and we'll develop our capital with it. That's what I'm saying right here. The single-digit IQ dynasty. China. I'm just saying, they could... Do you know how desperate the people of Myanmar are for freedom from their military government? Democracy, man. They all want to vote. That's what I've been told. They all want to vote. They all wish they could vote, especially the women. We got to send over Ralph's kids to free them. Okay, that's it as far as that goes. Part 3 of the Ralph saga is something I don't have a clip for. I'm just going to explain. In January of this year, when he and Faith had broken up, it's like a month later, and the whole revenge stuff is fresh. If you don't remember, Faith went to a mental hospital, and while she was being held in a psychiatric hold in a different state, I'm pretty sure she was in D.C. at the time, Ralph released the gun tape where he thumbs the butthole of Faith Vickers. And he sent this directly to her ex, Halfway Crook, who was live on YouTube. And he hits him up on Instagram. He's a verified Instagram account. Sends them this link to some video website. And it's a tape. And Halfway Crook is just like, oh, that's nice. But he did this maliciously to get revenge. Literally revenge. And the statute for what they consider unlawful dissemination of images, which is their statute for revenge, is that it has to be done for a malicious purpose. In this case, it was obviously done for a malicious purpose, so they charged him with unlawful what's the word? I just said it. I just said the word, and now the word is like a burned hole in my head. Dissemination. Unlawful dissemination of images. And the government, for whatever reason, decides to not prosecute this case anymore. A action which is called Nolla Prosequi. No prosecution. And it's different than winning. It is not winning. When you win a case, it's dropped. You can't be, because of our double jeopardy laws, you can't be charged with it again. And by the way, if you didn't know, our double jeopardy laws are pretty unique. In a lot of other countries, like, they don't have this rule. I think in most other countries, they don't have this rule where if you win your case and you're found not guilty of something, they can't ever bring it up again. In most other countries, they can actually, if new information comes out, they can charge you again. If you file an appeal in the U.S., they can only ever reduce your sentence or rule in your favor. They can't ever say, oh, actually, we're going to give you the death penalty now instead of life in prison because of new information. In most other countries, that's not how it is. If you appeal, it's like a gamble. They could look at that and say, actually, we kind of want to up your sentence now because it's even worse than we first decided. That's unique in the U.S. So he didn't win his case. They had the nolla prosequi, and they decided that they were going to drop it, and nobody really knew why. And it was later determined that, what we guessed at the time was that he was given stipulations, because lawyers chimed in and said usually when they do this no prosecution route, they basically don't want to pursue it because, in this instance, unlawful dissemination of images was a brand new law. It had never been used before. So for the prosecutor to be like, we could prosecute this, but we don't want to test this new law out on this particular case. So what we're going to do is say that we're not going to prosecute you, but we will prosecute you in the future if you harass Faith Vickers. And since the whole shit with Matthew Vickers in California just happened, Matthew Vickers, I believe, has won his restraining order against Ralph. Actually, I think it's not even a restraining order. A restraining order is the temporary thing. You get a judgment against you for long-term do not contact stuff. And he got the actual judgment saying don't contact Matthew Vickers. And I believe he got the same against Faith. He now has a restraining order, a long-term restraining order, which is a different thing. I'm calling it wrong. But against he can't contact Faith or Matthew Vickers. And because he's with Faith, I'm sure Matthew Vickers then contacted the prosecuting attorney and said, look, we won this judgment for harassment in California against Ralph. Me and Faith, and I believe that violates the informal, deal that you had with Ralph regarding injunction. That's the word. We have this injunction against Ralph, and I believe that it indicates that he's violated your agreement with him regarding the unlawful dissemination of images prosecution. And they agree because according to the clerk of court, Spectre contacted them, and in the phone call, there's only so much that they can disclose, but they did confirm with Spectre on the phone that the case was now active again as opposed to being on hold. So once he comes home from Vegas, all refreshed from his prostitutes and 45-year-old fangirls, he will be ready and roaring to go in criminal court once again for the revenge case against Faith Vickers, which is not a good place to be. And then I kind of, and I have a note here just before I get into the next thing. The case against him is a class 1 misdemeanor, and for comparison, Chris's charge of incest is a class 5 felony, and a class 5 felony is what they call a wobbler, I think was the term they use, and that's a Virginia crime which can either be downgraded to a class 1 felony or charged as a felony, which carries a 12-year jail sentence as a maximum. So either a 1-year jail sentence or a 12-year jail sentence. So potentially, if they choose to go the 1-year misdemeanor route with Chris, him and Chris are facing the exact same time in prison, which would be up to 1 year, or $2,500 in fees, or both. So, not a good place to be. And just, again, something that could easily been avoided by not being a wigger, by keeping the ego in check. The whole reason why he sent it to a halfway crook is because of his ego. And he has the biggest ego ever, and he can never ever just take the L. He can never let something roll off him. He has to constantly up the ante, and it's gonna keep kicking his ass forever. It's just forever. Like, he's gonna be in jail for this shit. He's gonna get like a year sentence or whatever, and then he's gonna be in jail, and someone's gonna steal his Snickers or something. And he's like, I ain't no punk bitch. So he grabs like a plastic knife and just like stabs the guy in the neck, and then he's dead, and he ends up in like federal prison and like isolation, and he's sending out handwritten notes to Gator, and like Gator is like reading them live on air, and that's just the kill stream. And he's like still like, sure, I may be in solitary confinement for my second degree charge against my fellow inmate, but at least I was not a punk bitch, and I got my Snickers back. I believe that Donald Trump should be president, and he should pardon me because I ain't no bitch. And that'll just be the kill stream, and he'll just consider it a huge win, and he'll still like send letters to Gator to post on Twitter calling me a, and that'll just be his life, and he'll continue to say that he won forever because he's like mentally ill. He's handicapped. He's just brain damaged, and he can't recover from this endless spiral that is his life. Oh, Christ is King. Signed, Christ is King, Ethan Oliver Ralph. And that the kill stream will be like just 15 minutes of Gator reading it. That's good. I'd listen to that. That sounds fun. Actually, no, I wouldn't, because I can't stand Gator. There's something about him, man. He opens his mouth and it's just like, ugh, shut up. Maybe get someone else who has a manlier voice. I know I shouldn't talk about voices, but I guess Pantsu could read it. Is Pantsu gonna? Do you think that if Ralph went to jail, Pantsu would stay with them for that year, or do you think she'd take off? You know what? If he did go to jail, here's what would be the absolute funniest thing that could possibly happen. Ralph goes to jail for a year. Pantsu has the baby while he's in jail. She then uses knowledge that she had for a while that he cheated on her in Vegas to have a fault divorce in Virginia, take half his shit, which I assume is like a couple library tokens, and apparently has property he doesn't even use in Arkansas. So then she sells the property and then takes the baby and leaves. That would be the absolute funniest possible outcome. She'll sell that baby? Maybe. Somebody has to get that up to Chantal. She can sell the baby to the cartel, Colombia. The Ralphs will pick the cocoa and smuggle it up to Chantal so she can smoke it. It'll complete the cycle. It'll complete the circle of life. She isn't smart enough for any of that. I don't know. I really thought that she had some sort of like grand scheme, but I guess she's just a. And I'm really surprised by that. I don't know why. I've always just assumed that she's smarter than she is, and not like a very intelligent person. But I think it's because she doesn't talk so much, whereas Ralph never shuts the up. So you hear what he's saying, and you think, God, what a. You hear Gator talking, like, God, what a. But May doesn't talk that much, in comparison, especially, and. Not talking is a flattering sign towards intelligence. Someone who keeps their mouth shut is a kind of a fill in the gaps yourself. Like, oh, there's something going on. They're thinking. They're using that time to contemplate things. But no, she's just like, I can't wait to watch the next anime. I wonder what hentai I'm going to look at today. I hope my dojins are coming in from Japan this week. And that's it. That's all that's happening. Nothing else is happening in the brain.